Roman Reigns is without a doubt one of the greatest wrestlers in the WWE. Now, of course, I wouldn't say that Roman is the best or he's the greatest of all time, because let's just call it what it is. There's been guys like Hulk Hogan who came in the 80s, and then there was Stone Cold and The Rock who came in the 90s, and then Cena who came in the 2000s and 2010s. And while I'll admit that they did do a good job, Roman definitely did help keep the WWE relevant after they did basically their part in the WWE. And that's kind of what I feel like Roman Reigns is. He's the equivalent to who those guys are. Now, of course, we could sit here and debate like who's really the GOAT, and maybe that should be a video for a different day. But in terms of Roman Reigns and his whole entire story, it's actually quite interesting. So Roman started in 2012, and he debuted with two other guys, basically trying to help protect CM Punk. It was basically CM Punk's type security guys, and they were known as the Shield. Now everybody knows who the Shield is. It was Dean Ambrose, Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns. Basically, they were dominant, destroyed everybody in the WWE, and they basically were this group where they were unstoppable. They beat guys like Cena, Taker, The Rock. They even took on other tag teams, and basically they were just unstoppable. And of course, they took on Evolution and the Wyatt family, which I'm going to be honest, these two feuds were honestly what made the Shield so much fun to watch. It was a battle between who's the more dominant group in the WWE. So to see these two going against each other different times was really unique. And of course, obviously, the Shield was so dominant that Seth Rollins turned on the Shield, which I ain't gonna lie, even 11-year-old me is still trying to forgive Seth Rollins for trying to do that, but it is what it is. Dean and Seth kind of went their own ways. Roman went his own way. And WWE was basically taking this opportunity to try to push Roman down our throats. Now, Roman was basically this baby face, and he was basically a guy who never lost any match. He would always be winning every single match. He was basically being pushed as the next guy, and it even got to this point in the whole entire feud with him and Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania, where he was going to be the guy to beat Brock Lesnar. And what's actually kind of interesting is Paul Heyman actually was speaking highly of Roman Reigns at this time. And obviously, I'm going to get to that later in the video. But Paul Heyman was speaking so highly of Roman Reigns, and of course, this really was interesting to see. Brock Lesnar's advocate, who was saying it at the time, he took on Brock, he took on Triple H, he took on Seth, he took on Undertaker, which he was the second person to beat Undertaker at WrestleMania, and that really did not sit well with fans. And he took on John Cena, and John Cena even called out Roman Reigns for being basically this cheap bootleg version of him, which that promo, guys, if you guys go back and watch that promo between Cena and Roman, it's probably without a doubt one of the coolest promos in the WWE, just because of how you could feel it kind of went a little unscripted, and even Roman forgot his line and one of the things. And it's really unique to see the fact that Roman was able to even come back and basically survive what the WWE really was, considering the fact that Cena basically buried him on this promo. Oh, and I forgot to mention, he even won the 2015 Royal Rumble as well, and that really did not sit well with fans. He won the Rumble, and it was so bad, the fact that The Rock had to come out and basically try to get the fans to want to be on Roman's side. So yes, Roman was basically this guy who was just unstoppable. Until 2018, he came out. It got really serious, really personal. He said his real name was Joe, and he basically announced that he had leukemia and he had to step away from the WWE. Now, this was really heartbreaking to see because, of course, whether you like Roman Reigns or not as the character, but as a person, Joe really was going through this difficult struggle of having something like this. And of course, we don't want to ever see anybody like that have some condition such as leukemia, because leukemia is a very dangerous type thing. So yes, it was very heartbreaking to see. And then of course, he came back in 2019, and he kind of was just basically well received by the fans. I think the fans started to really respect Roman more during this time. Now, I can't remember exactly how it was in 2019 to early 2020 because I stopped watching WWE around this time, and I was slowly kind of with it in the mid 2020, but I didn't really watch it. But I do know somebody else who wasn't there during the time, and that was Roman Reigns. Roman Reigns stepped away in 2020 because of COVID and everything, and of course, him having his leukemia, he didn't want to take any chances with that potentially coming back. But it's kind of crazy to think that COVID was seriously 6 years ago, now thinking about it. But yeah, so Roman steps away from WWE, and WWE kind of just had this void for a while, basically not knowing like where Roman was, because Roman did step away, but he returned in August of 2020, and he had a new character, and that was the Tribal Chief. And you could just tell the way that this Roman Reigns came in, he looked like a completely different version to what we saw back in 2015, 2016, 2017. Like this Roman Reigns literally was being the pushed as the guy he should have been. This was the Roman Reigns that we should have gotten back then. He was basically a heel. And remember how I said that Paul Heyman was basically giving him high praise back in 2015? Well, it's because 5 years later, he aligns himself with Roman Reigns. And this really was interesting to see because of the fact that Paul Heyman had allegiance to Brock Lesnar. So to see him going with Roman during this time was really unique to see. And actually, that was my first thought once I saw Paul and Roman together. I was wondering, when will Brock come back to have his match with Roman? So Roman Reigns comes, he basically wins the title, he reinserts himself into the main event scene like it was nothing, and he's basically at the top of the game again. And this time he gets his family involved, like the Usos, to be the head of the table. And this was one of the coolest things to ever see because this started the whole entire Bloodline story. And this story is honestly really good, but it felt like it kind of went on for a little too long. But he's at the head of the table. He's beaten everybody who's in his path. He beats Edge. He beats Daniel Bryan. He beats Finn Balor. He beats Drew McIntyre. And Roman held it down during the COVID era. Roman made SmackDown watchable during this time. And of course, it really did hurt not having any real fans during the time until mid 2021 when the fans came back. Roman beats Edge at Money in the Bank, and then John Cena returned, and they have their rematch from what they were supposed to have 2017. And this match actually was really good, and this time there was actually a better story to go with it because Cena was trying his hardest to bury Roman, but the thing was Roman actually was able to come back and take on Cena like in the promos and everything. And then, of course, Roman took on Brock when Brock returned. And this, of course, led to what I was thinking about in terms of, like, what were they going to do with Brock. And this was pretty unique to see, too, because of just the fact that we got to see Brock versus Roman. Not once, not twice, but 3 times. These two go at it in the span of 7-8 months. So it's really just kind of funny how it all worked out. And then, 2022, Roman was basically in this whole story with the Bloodline. Him and Sami Zayn were teaming with each other. Sami's in the Bloodline. And this whole story was really captivating because it was more so just as if, like, what's going to happen between Sami and the Bloodline. There were points where it seemed like they were about to kick Sami out, but Sami still would stay in the Bloodline until 2023 when he turned on Roman. And then, of course, Roman basically was just kind of dealing with Sami for a while. And then, of course, we have the Cody feud. Roman and Cody have their feuds. Roman basically buried Cody on the mic in some of these promos. I've actually mentioned that in one of my previous videos. And then Roman was kind of there for the most part in 2023. Roman was the undisputed champion during this whole time as well. And basically, Roman was undefeatable. Like, nobody could beat Roman at all, because anytime he would be in a match, he would never get pinned, never submit it, And it was one of the craziest things to ever see. And it was finally until 2023 when the Usos finally had enough of Roman. They turned on Roman, and Jay was the first person to pin Roman in 2023. So this just kind of led the interesting question of, okay, so when's Roman going to lose his title? And then, of course, we got to 2024. We see him and Cody are feuding with each other again. And Roman really wasn't as active as he was 2020 and 2021, or even 2022 for that matter. He kind of just was taking a back seat for a while, but he's kind of more so earned this type of time to do that because of the fact that he was always there and he was the guy who carried the company for such a long time. So people do kind of sometimes give him trouble for not showing up, but he actually in a way earned that time to be away because of the fact that he carried the company. He held the undisputed championship for 1,316 days. Cody's the one who took the title away from Roman. But see, this is kind of when the whole entire story of Roman Reigns kind of ends, I feel like, is when he lost to Cody at Mania. Because yeah, he still showed up after Cody beat him at Rumble, or Cody beat him at Mania and everything. But after that, he doesn't really do much of anything. Like, yeah, he came back in 2024 at SummerSlam and he helped Cody win the championship, and then they teamed with each other and they took on Solo and that whole entire group. And then The Rock returned, and we thought we were going to see Rock and Roman again, but it never happened. And then, of course, 2025 happens, and Roman takes on Solo, and he becomes the tribal chief again, and then him and Rock are basically teaming with each other. And I feel like, and I'm sorry, guys, I really am not trying to sound like a hater when I say this, because I really do like Roman Reigns. I enjoyed Roman Reigns. I mean, he's had some of the best promos, and he had some really good matches of the modern WWE. But in 2025, Roman Reigns literally did nothing. Like, yeah, of course it was always cool to see Roman come back, and of course it was always cool to see Roman, like, come out, cut a promo, and talk to whoever. But he didn't even have that many matches. And I understand I did just say he kind of did take a step back, but literally he just wasn't in any good storylines. I felt like as if his character, they didn't really know what to do with his character since he lost the title. And I don't like to see Roman get this type of treatment, considering the fact that Roman is one of the better guys. And it actually was kind of funny because Roman literally was basically burying everybody for every part of the 2020s, and then he comes back and he's losing to certain guys like Bronson Reed, Braun Breaker. It just kind of was insane to see. So Roman really didn't do much of anything. I mean, yeah, of course he had his triple threat match with CM Punk and Seth Rollins, which just kind of goes back to what I said earlier in the video about how him and Seth were basically hired to basically protect CM Punk. But it's kind of cool how this part of the story basically was like a full circle moment. Of course, they were all fighting over Paul Heyman. Realistically, that's kind of what this whole match was. And again, Roman didn't really do much of anything. I mean, yeah, he'd return, and it was always cool to see him return. And then he just never really had like that it factor again. And of course, I mean, he still does have that aura around him. I'm not saying that that's not the problem. It's just the way that they were booking Roman. And then we can't deny the fact that Roman basically came in 2026. He won the Rumble. And it's actually funny because before he won the Rumble, he actually called out some of the young guys and said that nobody's over. And he he basically stepped aside to allow people to get over. And yeah. And I almost feel like Triple H has like some kind of vendetta against Roman or something, because literally Roman won the Rumble, but Triple H didn't even take a picture with him. Usually he takes a picture with people when they're celebrating something, but he literally didn't take a picture with Roman. It almost makes me wonder, is there some kind of like beef going on with these two? So I don't know. I mean, I do know Roman does speak up to Triple H, and I think it's just because of the fact that Roman isn't afraid of Triple H. But yeah, so that's kind of just how that whole entire story with Roman is. And now, of course, he's feuding with CM Punk. Because of who wins this match, I'm kind of fine with either because I like them both. But if I had to choose one person, I would definitely say Roman because of just the fact that Roman is a bigger star than CM Punk. Not saying that CM Punk isn't a big star or anything, but I just think Roman could definitely use the win. You guys like Roman Reigns? And who do you think's going to win between Roman and CM Punk? And make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. I'd really appreciate it. And I'll just catch you guys in the next one. Peace.